Hey fellow writers, this is Rich Blazevich from Self-Publishing Fastlane. In this video, I'm going to talk about getting support as you write your book. And I've talked to students who are in my writing classes, and they say that this is one of the main reasons they don't finish the book that they've started, is they don't feel like they have the right support system around them. So I'm going to explain how to build a support system that can help you get through the writing process. Before I do that though, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. And then if you want to stick around until the end of the video, I'll show you how to get useful information off of my website. So let's go ahead and get started. Specifically, what I'm going to cover in this video is why writers need support. And then I'm also going to talk about what type of support you might need and how to find people who can give you that support. Now, when it comes to writing obstacles, there are three big obstacles that tend to get in the way when you're writing a book. And I call them the 3Ds. They are distractions, discouragement, and direction or lack of direction. And you are likely to run into at least one, if not all three of these issues as you're writing your book. Let's take these one at a time, starting with distractions. Sometimes when you have distractions that are getting in the way of you focusing on your writing, you need accountability. You need a deadline. You need somebody holding you accountable for finishing the next step in your book. And so what I like to do is I like to get an accountability partner. And this can be anybody. This can be somebody who you just check in with periodically, and they will keep you accountable for hitting your next goal in your writing process. The way I do it is I typically find somebody I can have a quick meeting with once a week, and the meeting might only be 15, 20 minutes long. And during that meeting, what I'll do is I will set objectives and say, okay, for the next week, I'm going to write 2,000 words in my book. And then when I see them the next week, they'll hold me accountable. They'll say, hey, how did you do on those 2,000 words? Did you get them done? It also helps to find writers groups that you can use to increase your accountability. And the way I do this is when the writers group meets, I will say, hey, everyone, I'm working on my book. I want you to hold me accountable because by the time we meet next time, I want to have completed this many pages, this many words, this many chapters. And then the next time we meet, I said I was going to do this many. You guys, I only did this many, so next time I need to make up for it. Or great news, I met my objective and I wrote more than I told you I would. And that will make you feel like, okay, there are other people who are counting on me and there are other people who are aware of my goals. I need to report back to them. And then finally, another great way to make sure you're accountable is to have a co-author. When I wrote my first book, I had somebody else that was writing the book with me, and we would use each other to make sure we were making the progress we wanted to make on the book. The next category is discouragement. When you're feeling discouraged, it really helps to have a pep talk. And my favorite way to get pep talks, oddly enough, is through social media groups. So if you join a writers group on social media, it's very common for people in those writers groups to post comments saying, I'm having a hard time, I can't get the words out, I'm getting too distracted, and then people will give them pep talks. And that way you can always have a group that you can go to, and most social media groups are fairly active. They will respond back to you, usually within an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, you'll get several people giving you the pep talk you need to keep going. For example, I've got a social media group for students who are in my writing and publishing courses, and the social media group is called Self-Publishing Fastlane Writers Community. And what we do is anytime somebody is struggling to do their writing, we encourage them to put that post on the site, and then other writers will jump in and we'll build them up. We'll tell them how great they are. We'll just give them the encouragement that they need. So I recommend find a social media group that is encouraging and then use them to help you get the pep talks you might need. You can also use friends and also family members. So they don't have to be writers. They just have to be people who are positive and upbeat and make you feel like you can get the next step in the process done. And the final obstacle I wanted to talk about was lack of direction. This means you're writing and you just don't know where to go next, or you're in the publishing process and you don't know what step you should be doing. There are three ways I recommend you address this. The first one is take a writing and a publishing course. And what that will do is that will help you figure out what every step in the process is, and you'll know what direction you should go once you've completed a task. You can also get critiques. Writers are fantastic at giving each other critiques, and if you run into a spot where you can't figure out where to go next, you can use those critiques to help you figure out what you should be writing about, what you should be doing in the publishing process. And then finally, there are coaching services. You can hire someone who is a writing coach, and they can provide the direction that you need to keep going. Now I want to spend just a minute telling you how to find groups that you can use to support you through the writing process. The best way I found is use social media. Look on whatever social media platforms you like the most, and chances are you'll find a good writers group. Let me show you how this is done. So if you go onto Facebook and you search for writers groups and you look at groups, it will pull up hundreds of writers groups. And you can tell from the description what the group's objectives are. So if you're a beginning writer, you might want to find a group that supports beginning writers. If you want to write a book in a certain genre, you might want to find a support group that focuses on that genre. So you can find support groups for people writing memoirs or nonfiction books or fantasy or romance. And that way, when you need advice, when you need a pep talk, when you need direction, you'll be going to people who have a very similar interest and who can give you advice based on their experience. Next, you can look for support with community groups. So you might have a community center in your area. You might have a neighborhood group, or you could form a neighborhood group. You might find other people who live near you who are interested in writing. There might be local meetup groups, and Meetup is a fantastic platform to help you find people who have interests, and you can also find others. My favorite writers group is actually run through my local library. So I live in Frisco, Texas, and the Frisco Library hosts a writers group, and we get together once a month, and we give each other encouragement, we give each other critiques, we give each other accountability, and it is just a fabulous way to get support. So I recommend look in your community and see if you can find a support group. The easiest way to do this is just go on to Google and search for writers groups near me and scroll through what Google provides. And then finally, the last way I recommend in finding groups is look for associations that support writers in your specific genre. And my favorite association is called the Alliance of Independent Authors. They have a fabulous website, and they provide blog articles, they provide networking events, they provide instructions. So you might want to find an association like the Alliance of Independent Authors that you can go to for support. Here's some criteria I recommend you use when you're looking for a support group. First of all, try and find a group that includes writers who are planning to use the same publishing method as you. So if you're planning to self-publish your book, make sure that the group you're joining also includes people who plan on self-publishing. Then pick a group that has a meeting venue that you like. If you like social media and you like posting and being part of social media discussions, great, that's a good venue for you. If you prefer to be on virtual calls and you like seeing people and talking to people, or maybe you like meeting in person. So see if you can find a group that has the type of meeting venue or the type of interaction with other members that you prefer. And then finally, try and find a group that's a good fit for you and your personality. I like groups that are very encouraging, very positive. So if I get into a group and I find that they're a little rougher, they're a little more hostile, I'll just opt out of the group and then go find a different one. Here are some common questions that you could ask in a group, and you could get great advice on how to answer questions like these. You could ask questions like, hey, does anybody have any advice on how I overcome writer's block? Or maybe, how do I get a book cover? Or should I get an ISBN or not? And where can I find a good editor? You can get all kinds of tips. So anytime you're stuck, these writer support groups are fantastic for helping you get unstuck. Here are 3 secrets when it comes to writers groups. The first one is you can enforce boundaries. So if you get in a group and you find that there are members that are discouraging, or there are members that are hogging the attention of the group, you can let them know, hey, that's not what this group is about. Or you can say, hey, that doesn't align with what I want to do, so I'm going to set up boundaries, I'm going to leave, I'm going to go find another group. Another secret is you can form subgroups. What I've seen is if you get into a really big group and you find a few people that you have something in common with, you can go and talk to those people and say, hey, I like your approach. I'm very interested in seeing if we can work together more often, and then form a smaller group that might meet more often. And then finally, you can shop around. So think of finding a writers group almost like dating, where you don't marry the first person you dated. Maybe you did, but most people don't. You don't have to become a permanent member of the first group that you see. So you can go into a writer's group, you can go to a couple of meetings, you can watch their posts if you're on social media, you can talk to some of the members, and if it's not a fit, that's okay. You can leave the group. There are a lot of groups to choose from, so shop around a little bit, find a group that really works well for you. Here are some do's and don'ts when it comes to writers groups. First of all, do join a few groups. It's nice to have 2 or 3 groups so that if you're not getting what you need from one group, you can talk to people in the other group and see if they can provide the support you need. And then don't join too many groups. You don't want to be in 20, 30, 40 groups because then you're not getting to know the other group members and you're not forming relationships with them and they're less likely to support you. Another thing you want to do is look for a group that's a good fit for you. So you want a group that has people who might be writing in your same genre. They might be using the same publishing method as you. They might have similar personality characteristics. And that way you're finding a group that you feel like you fit into. You don't want to join unrelated groups. So if you're writing upbeat, encouraging books, you don't want to join a group that's made up of people who are writing dark and scary and horror type books because they're not going to be able to give you the kind of support you're looking for. Something else you should do is you should look to form partnerships with members of the groups. And I've done this very successfully. I've gone into a writer's group, I've met people, I've connected with people, and then when I'm looking for an accountability partner, I'll form a partnership with somebody in the group and I'll feel like they're already a good fit so we can trust each other more, we can interact with each other more. It's a great place to meet people who can be accountability coaches, they can be critiquers, they can potentially provide editing. So form those partnerships and see if you can barter services with other people in your writers groups. What you don't want to do is don't commit to a group forever. Groups are meant to be something that you come in and out of as you might need them. So you don't want to be like, hey, I'm going to be in this group for the rest of my life. Don't get your feelings hurt if you feel like, the group's changed. It's not really what I'm looking for. You can opt in and opt out as you see fit. So the action steps for this video are join some writers groups, whether you do it on social media, you do it in your local community, however you want to do it, join those writers groups and then see if you can find people who can be good accountability partners, good coaches, good people to give you pep talks, whatever you need to get your book completed and published. Writers groups are a great way to do that. And then finally, see if you can find a mentor or an accountability partner that's a really good fit for you. I found that sometimes when you're writing a book, just having that one other person that you really connect with and that one person who can support you can make all the difference. At the beginning of the video, I said I would give you some free content on my website. If you go to selfpublishingfastlane.com, you'll find a link to my checklist. Usually in the top right corner of my website, there's something that says download checklist. If you click on that link, you can get a free checklist. And this checklist includes the overall writing process. And then you'll find 3 pages in it. 1 page for all the steps you'll need to do to write your book. 1 for all the steps you need to do to refine your book. So things like editing, getting book covers, formatting your book. And then finally, there's 1 page that shows all the steps you'll need to do to publish your book. So go ahead and go to that website, get the free checklist, and you'll also be able to sign up to get my weekly newsletters. That's it. That's all I had for the support video. So hopefully that'll help you with ideas on how to get the support you might need as you're writing your book. Remember, if you like this video and you want to see more like it, just hit that subscribe button and good luck, best wishes as you're writing your book.